I don't care about the culture war. And I know it's popular right now to be a pastor who preaches the culture war.
There's a lot of taxes that I don't like to pay for because I do ultimately hate the government.
The fascist term hasn't worked. And so they literally have shifted away from the fascist term because people started saying, what does fascist mean? And nobody who was using the word could explain it. Yeah. So now they're using the word Christian nationalist.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to NewWayStories podcast. We're a comedy podcast that talks about film. I'm switching it up on us.
Film. Can you come up with it?
Creativity. I should have gone fun times. Film, fun times, and the funnies is what some people call comic books. No, we talk about anything and everything, but generally try to link it back into something creative. And today we're talking about something that is not very fun-filled at all. We're talking about politics and this idea of Christian nationalism, because I think that there is, I think it's a hot term right now,
hot
and
topic.
I've been guilty of shopping there at the Hot Topic.
Yeah. Get a couple t-shirts.
Walking out with my ironic t-shirt.
And a Funko Pop.
Yep. And
skinny checkered jeans with a belt that's 4 miles wide.
And so I think there's some nuances to it. I think I have a not a different opinion, but I think there's one thing inside of it that I focus on that I think is actually important. And like my opinion compared to other people's opinion, I think mine is the most important.
Yep, exactly.
And we'll talk about it as Christ followers, as Americans, and yeah.
We should introduce ourselves because
we should introduce ourselves.
We get a lot of these,
and then why don't you do your political pronoun as well? Darius, give it to us.
My political pronouns are eagle/claw.
Nice.
What was I supposed to say?
You're a pastor at a church.
Oh,
yeah. Why don't you give us a 3-sentence, biography?
Oh, I see. Introducing myself. Yeah. I was raised by a coven of witches right outside of Salem.
Excellent.
No, my name's Darius. I'm
born
a pastor.
1692.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was born. That's when I was born, the 1600s, not earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a pastor. I planted a church last year in the Seattle-Tacoma area in a more suburban part of the Seattle-Tacoma area. Everybody in Seattle always lies and says that they're like, "Well, our church is in Seattle." I'm like, no, It's not. It's in Renton, Troy. And so our church is not in Seattle, but we're in the area.
There's a restaurant effect in Chicago that does that. Like the most gentrified area, hopping area, is called the West Loop, and that's where like all the Chicago Bulls hang out, and there's fancy. The best burger was like named on that street, and then it'd be like 5 or 6 blocks away, completely in a different neighborhood. Like, I don't know. They're just like the West Side or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're West Loop. We're a West Loop restaurant. You go, no, you're not.
You're not.
But when you type in West Loop restaurants, it takes you like
no,
2 miles
you're not.
away.
You're not even on. You're not even close to the West Loop. You're practically the South Loop.
Which is a thing.
So
they've got slightly different drawls there.
Church in the Seattle-Tacoma area. Last year, I've been a pastor for, I don't know, close to 15 years, between 12 and 15 years, somewhere around there. And yeah, that's it. I love Jesus. I love people a ton. And I love this podcast a little bit.
And you are probably rightish leaning, but
for sure. Yeah.
Darius and myself are not very active in politics. No. What's the opposite of an activist?
Pacifist.
A pacifist. We're political pacifists.
Actually, that seems like an actual term.
Yeah, probably something.
I ingest more now than I used to because I keep forgetting to delete YouTube off of my phone. But yeah, I would say that I'm like center right.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, right now, I do come down on things right a lot. I would say the difference is our church and my background and my wife's background, we have a very strong passion for reaching and helping and connecting with like poorer communities and what some people call underserved communities and just places where people are living in our culture in like really difficult places. And to be honest, that's not something that the political right focuses on a ton. And so I tend to sympathize with a lot of liberal ideologies when it comes to like the compassion that I have for certain peoples.
Yeah.
But my methodology ultimately, actually, I think still tends to be conservative.
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Jesse. I'm the host of this podcast. I was a pastor for some time. I now own a coffee shop and do other things.
You lived in Chicago and did comedy. You did open mics over there?
Yep. I lived in Chicago. I wrote a sketch show.
Yeah.
Performed it at the Second City Theater. It was on one of their indie stages where a lot of people can get in, but it was still fun. So
That's really cool.
You have to walk through the hallway of the Tina Fey pictures and
that's
Chris
I mean,
Farley
it's Second City Chicago is the birthplace of American comedy.
Yeah,
like modern American comedy.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, like even all of the people that you think of who are the most famous, most funny people. From TV and movies,
like got their start in Chicago.
They all trace back to Second City in some way.
So there's that, and politically, I was conservative, and I will say that I am definitely a capitalist at heart, and I'm very passionate Economically, yeah, I am very passionate about entrepreneurial things like owning a coffee shop and things of that nature. But I like an ethical. Can we call it an ethical capitalist? Because I think that like some people are like, when a capitalist really is just the bottom line number guy, and when you get a corporation, whatever that's so large you can't help but only look at bottom line stuff where you go, hey, we got to make cuts. And then you just like kind of ruthlessly cut people's jobs. That's an unethical.
I would say the thing that probably separates people like you from, I think there's an ideological, unfortunately, defining that happens from people. And so it might be most helpful to just even say, you're not an ist and you don't believe in an ism in the sense of like, you don't ascribe to the worldview of capitalism. You believe in the free market.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the easiest way to maybe like.
Yeah. And there is kind of what you were saying about like leaning towards like compassions for people, especially I've got a staff of like 6 people. Don't like to brag about it, but I look at those 6 people in the eyes and they're trying to pay their bills. And, like we were just talking about like health insurance. I'm like, I would love to be able to offer you health insurance. Like I would love to like get my business in a place where I can like hire somebody, offer health insurance, like pay like well above minimum wage. Like I want to do those sorts of things. But also at the same time, when I'm trying to build a business and I have to pay nearly $20 in minimum wage, that's a lot of coffee that has to be sold. So there's this like kind of tug back and forth of like, the laws, I guess, are like left or right. One helps the worker and then one puts small businesses out of business, which ultimately doesn't help the worker and then they're like, we're anti-corporations, but we make laws that only large corporations can adhere to. But that's my political leaning.
Yes, and we're on the other side. We are filming in different locations. He's on the west side of Washington. We're on the east side of Washington.
Whoa! And that's if you're not in Washington, that's divided by a mountain, and 1/3 geography wise, is the west side of the Cascade Mountains, but like 2/3 of the population is the west side. Much more left much more, that's why it's
if you look
blue.
at a political map, I don't know if there's any red districts east of the Cascade Mountains.
There used to be.
Blue districts east of the Cascade Mountains. And I don't know if there's any red districts west of the Cascade Mountains.
There's maybe a smattering somewhere.
There probably are. Snohomish, maybe.
Somewhere, yeah. So anyway, that's why Washington's a blue state. Ben?
Yeah.
I work at a church, not in a pastoral role, in a technical role in like the media side. That's an important distinction when
he technically works at a church.
Ben starts trying to give you spiritual advice. You go, well, that is coming from the tech guy.
Yeah. I edit and upload this podcast every week, so you're welcome.
Beautiful. And you gotta have those people, or else the message never gets out.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Because the pastors don't know how to work computers.
Even the early disciples had women.
And I will say,
that's a joke.
From the recent comments we got, this podcast puts comedy. We said it right at the beginning. We value that a lot, and so we won't. We will always lean. What's
being funny is pretty much
on the side of the.
I err on the side of the joke.
Yeah. So if you've already gotten 10 minutes into this and you're like, I find these guys annoying, you're probably not going to like the rest of it.
Yeah, but listen anyway.
Well, maybe. What about this? How do you feel about that?
I love it. It is my favorite thing right now.
Just doing an annoying check. What the heck?
I'm so unplugged to social media and everything. I just assume there's some sort of trend that I'm missing.
No, I was trying to make an annoying sound to see if we could.
Right.
If we could.
No, I'm saying that I just assumed that was something circulating on Twitter that I wasn't a part of.
Kids are walking around going 6, 7,
These Gen Z kids.
These Zoomers. I'm a conservative. I lean more right. But I will say I do not. When it comes to local, statewide stuff, I won't vote party line all the time. I like to think for myself. I know that's an annoying thing to say, but like there was even a couple of things on the ballot recently that I know were endorsed by the Washington State Republican Party, but I didn't want to vote for it. Even in the last gubernatorial race, I didn't vote for the Republican gubernatorial. I didn't vote for the Washington State's endorsed candidate. I didn't vote for the Washington State Republican endorsed candidate, and some of the other people too. So technically I am a Republican. I'm more conservative. I would give myself that title before I'd label myself conservative, at least in Washington State.
You're like a third party Dave Riker fan, right?
I do like, I did.
You were like a third Riker.
Okay, wait a second.
I agree.
Wait a second.
I agree that I had to force that joke in
Wait
there.
a second.
That's a deep cut Washington joke
good.
for anybody listening to this not in Washington State.
I did. I was a part of his campaign. I met him, and I.
Oh dang!
And so I did. I walked a parade and handed out stuff.
Nice.
You knew Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
I didn't say I knew him. I said he touched me on the shoulder once.
And I didn't vote yes on 8201. I voted no.
If you didn't get that Gladiator reference, I would encourage you to pause the podcast, go watch Gladiator, and then come back the rest of the podcast.
I will say that's like something that I differ from, and on like taxes and things of that nature. There's a lot of taxes that I don't like to pay for because I do ultimately hate the government in general.
Even if it is Republic, like anyway, I don't want to get into it.
But like in Yakima, we keep turning down like tax raises, and we like everybody just votes no on them for the last like 15 years, and then we also complain that downtown Yakima blows. And it's like, well, why can't we be like Bellingham or Walla Walla or Wenatchee? And it's like, well, because they're literally 15 years ahead of us in how they pay their taxes that like go in. And now Yakima has its own issues too from like leadership that is very narrow-sided. But
well, I think Yakima probably does suffer in Yakima County probably does suffer from it still hasn't. The leadership baton hasn't been passed yet.
Yeah, there is an old guard that is dying out.
Yeah.
And The future is bright. Like in the next 20 years, it is actually exciting as a business owner to kind of see that we're like on about to crest a hill in Yakima, and I think the next 20 years of Yakima is going to be very exciting. But I would pay more taxes in order to have a better downtown. So that but then I also am like the Yakima.
You guys are going to get
government.
I mean, I guess there's a lot of listeners from Yakima.
Budget anything,
but it's also like you want to make your downtown more attractive, but then like statewide, it's hard to run a business because like I don't know. Locally, we can only do so much, but like
I was talking to a guy who ran a pita pit thing, and he was like, we moved,
which is actually a local hangout for pedophiles.
You
guys meet me down at the pita pit.
He had it downtown Yakima, right, like a conservative city, but like minimum wage is right now it's $16.66, and he's like, it's just like we couldn't do it, so we moved it to Idaho where minimum wage is $7,
and they're doing great,
and they're doing fine. And again, there's the balance of you want to pay a livable wage, but also a minimum wage job like is for like high school kids and college kids. They aren't really supposed to be making rent.
Well,
and
this is also
stuff,
but we don't have to get into the weeds here, but this is also one of those liberal things that just doesn't work as we're looking at like the recent mayoral election in New York. You can't just raise all of the taxes and raise how much you're taxing businesses with minimum wage without it affecting the cost of living.
Right. Then everything goes. It's always been my biggest pet peeve because the cost of living then rises with it, and then people are like, "Why are you charging $8 for a latte?" And I'm like, "Because I have to pay a $17 minimum wage, which means that my rent has gone up, which means that my milk has gone up, which means my coffee has gone up." Like
I was living in Linwood, Washington, which is also in West Washington. And if you don't know this, you're listening to this from another state. Washington has one of the worst affordability housing crises in all of America. Mm-hmm. So in all of the Western world and in all of America, one of the worst places to live in terms of affordable housing is Western Washington. And I was visiting from Western Washington to Texas 10 years ago. And this guy was like, "You're from Washington? Dude, I kind of want to move there, man. It makes $17 an hour minimum wage." And I was like, "Well, how much is your rent?" And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, it's getting pretty expensive. It's like $500-600 for a studio apartment." And I was like, "It's $1,000 for a studio apartment. So you're going to take a $3 an hour increase in minimum wage, and you're going to be paying double. And that's just for housing. That's not including that's not including taxes. That's not including all the other stuff. So that's the issue there."
Okay, well, I feel like we're harping on taxes a little more.
Yeah, this is now just a podcast about taxes, which is really what I'm most passionate about. Jesus said, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's."
Yes.
And
give to Ferguson what is Ferguson's.
And I don't like it. I don't like it, Jesus. So Christian nationalism.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. I think that I was watching some videos and they talked about, Zimbabwe, which is like a Christian nation in their like writing. It's honoring God. And so people who run the country and are also, Christ followers or claim to be Christ followers, it's, it's like, hey, we're running a country, nationalism, right? But we're doing it from a Christian standpoint. And so there's that side of it. And I think that like the far left likes to rail on people who are Christians who want to quote unquote force their agenda or morals on the rest of the country. And I think that is a broad sense of like Christian nationalism. And then people quote, separation of church and state and that sort of thing. What's another like kind of definition or distinction that I'm kind of,
I feel like
I think you're hitting it on the head.
I think you nailed it.
Just the way that it's being used as propaganda right now is it's being used as a buzzword to discourage anybody from voting with morals-based voting. which is so it's like it's very anti, like they're tying Christian morals to Christian authoritarianism.
Yeah.
And I think right now the way that is being propagandized is if you're a Christian and you are a patriot, then you're actually an authoritarian and a totalitarian. And you want to superimpose on, if you're the 1%.
Fascist has been thrown around a lot.
The fascist term hasn't worked. And so they literally have shifted away from the fascist term because people started saying, what does fascist mean? And nobody who was using the word could explain it. Yeah. So now they're using the word Christian nationalist because fascist didn't work as a propaganda term. In previous decades, the iteration of Christian nationalism that I didn't like was I would hear a lot of conservatives or Christians wrongly say America is God's chosen nation. We're like a special group of people. And that's what Christian nationalists seemed to imply when I was younger, which was like this idea that like we are a Christian nation, not in the terms of like we're a nation that has Christian values, but we're like a special called group of people.
We're the new white Israel.
Yeah, and I think that's extremely stupid.
Right. So that's an interesting thing as well, because I do think that there is nuances in just how you act as an American, that you do vote. Every single person votes based off of their morals, right? And I was listening to this Ruslan video that Ben shared with me, and he brought that point up. Is that like everything that you're voting for is based off of your morals, whether it's Christian morals or not, secular or something else. You're hoping that like your worldview becomes the norm, right? Becomes the thing that America says, oh yeah, we agree with you on that. Yep. And I think the beauty of America and the reason that it has lasted for as long as it's lasted so far is that there's a little bit of wiggle room in there. And that I always talk about this is that, you see one conservative like president and then it flips over to a liberal president and it goes back and forth. Generally there's like maybe two, right? It's like Reagan and then George Sr. and then Clinton for 8 years, right?
Yep.
And then George W. Bush and then Obama.
One of the things that we're going to see now moving forward, finally, is blatantly non-Christian presidential candidates.
And
we've never, ever had that.
Now, But I also don't mind that because I'm not here to make any moral statement on the last seven presidents.
I wasn't meaning to say that as a negative. I don't mind that either.
No, yeah, it is an interesting shift. And I went to
because all the candidates have been lying for
so that
forever.
That was my point. Is that you had to attach yourself to a church. You go, you're like, hey, I'm going to be running for president, so I'm going to make some appearances at this church, and then you go, oh yeah, I go to this church, and you go, oh, okay, but like, did you actually go to that church? Do you actually like adhere to the Christian morals, or is that like a thing that you know that you had to have in order to run a successful campaign?
Trump recently in an interview that I think went pretty viral, they were like, do you think you're going to heaven? He was like, me, don't think so. Probably not. But I've helped a lot of people on earth. And you're like, oh, this guy who said he was a Christian when he ran the first time, because that was the strategy that he was told to employ. Yeah. He's finally comfortable enough to be like, oh, I actually didn't need to pretend to be a Christian. Christians would have voted for me even if I told them what I really believe. That's what he knows that now, I think.
I wasn't old enough to vote yet, but like in 2015, 2016, I was 15, 16. I'm always a year ahead of whatever.
Yeah.
We never, because I grew up in a conservative but very Hispanic church, and that was my life. And so it was kind of, from what I gathered, no one believed that he was a Christian, and no one believed that he was a good person, but we were all very conservative. So it's either we didn't vote for him, or we did with a caveat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
so
there were a lot of people in America that believed, and there are still a lot of people in America that believe that Trump is God's chosen.
that's a crazy thing.
I understand that it's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
And I understand that's a crazy thing. And I agree with you. It's only a group of uninformed people who believe that. But the number of people that believe it is probably in the millions of people.
It's a large. There is
Hundreds of thousands or millions of people, I would guess. And I can't say for sure, but it's not a fringe 0.01% of the population.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah. So I do like the honesty portion of it. And I was talking to Ben before the pod. I do struggle with forcing legislation or like trying to force like laws that would adhere. Like I think that there are some like legalistic laws, right? Like in Utah, I think it's still this way. You can't buy alcohol on Sunday.
Weird.
Yeah, makes no sense.
You know,
Yeah.
that's like a
There's still dry counties in Arkansas where you just can't buy alcohol.
right.
You can't buy
And
liquor,
there's
beer, I think.
SLC Punk, 90s indie movie, great movie. Utah was a dry state for a really long time, so they had to like go over the border to like buy alcohol. And I think prohibition,
Which
right,
that's not even
back
Christian
in like the 20s,
nationalism. That's technically Mormon
nationalism, which is even worse, by the way.
Sorry.
I'm just
Keep
kidding.
going.
But that sort of concept and prohibition back in the 20s stemmed out of that, right? That it's like drinking is evil or whatever, and then and it's funny because like we've considered doing events where we're serving alcohol at Northtown, and so we're like kind of going through some of these things, and it's so funny the hoops that you have to jump through that are so obviously left over from 1930, right? Like when it was repealed. It's crazy. But yeah, so in church though, this is a temptation, is you see the end product and you go, how do we get everybody to do this end product? And you start looking at the exteriors of what they do. They go, well, they dress in a sweater vest. They
got the tie.
They make sure that they serve twice a month. They serve one, sit one, right? They like whatever. You have all these exteriors, and then as church leaders, it's tempting to go, well, if you want to change life, what is the life of a good Christian look like? You need to go out and buy some sweater vests. You need to serve one, sit one. And I'm being facetious in some of these things, but you force the little things that make up the end product rather than
you reverse engineer a Christian, which is impossible.
That's great. Reverse engineer a Christian, which is the next NewWayStories sci-fi story.
Yeah. Reverse engineered Christian.
So
well, you don't have to look. There's a ton of reverse engineered Christians,
and I think
everywhere.
I think it's tempting to do that on a national perspective, where you go, I want America as a whole to serve Jesus, right? That's like, we think as Christ followers that we think it's the best way, and if we didn't think it was the best way, we wouldn't be Christ followers. So I don't. It's also kind of a funny thing. People put that out there. They're like, you think you're an elitist. And I go, you also think you're an elitist because the thing that you're doing, you think is the best way, or else you would do something different. And that's okay. Like, but I understand there's a tension of America has a whole bunch of different concepts.
Yeah.
I'm getting in the weeds a little bit.
Well, I think that entire you're an elitist is really, and I don't know how else to say this, it's really a Marxist idea that's like a shadow Marxist idea that's like attempting to say, well, you're the elite and I'm not. You're the oppressor. I'm the oppressed. Don't oppress me. And it's like, no, like we're actually a populist democracy.
Yeah.
In most ways, when it comes down to it, the morals of, and this is dangerous and scary in and of itself. The morals of the majority win.
Right.
So if you don't like the morals of the majority, you still have to live with whatever laws are the downstream of those morals. That's just the way it works because you can't separate morals and ethics and law. It's not possible.
For me, I think that Christians should be active in their local church. They should be doing outreach and reaching people. And then I think from there, and I think it's a long haul, right? It's a long haul sort of thing. Exactly what you're saying. When it becomes the majority, then those are the laws that are passed. And I think that Christ followers should be involved in government. And I think that they should say, this is what I believe. This is what we should push forward. All of these sorts of things. I think that is what should happen. But I do think that it starts from a local church perspective. And I think Ruslan brought this up too, that he said like 60% of like the government budget is like charity.
What's the
is
word?
What he said. It's either
Social Security, Medicare, to Medicaid,
Medicare, welfare,
yeah,
programs like that. He's making the argument that that's never actually the government's place. The government is just to set laws and to enforce laws.
Well, the issue with the
agree that the local church's job is to do that. Unfortunately, the local church has not succeeded in that, and so I think then people are like, well, we can like set these legislation like government laws that we can pay taxes and make sure that people receive health care or whatever.
That's a bigger conversation, I think, too. But I actually think if you really look at the broad history, I actually think Christian charities were doing a better job of taking care of the poor before like FDR's New Deal and before the outflows of welfare that happened after the Civil Rights Act. And I think like you could definitely look at Black communities after the Civil Rights Act. You can say, well, wait a second, their economic growth absolutely was stunted like almost immediately after the Civil Rights Act. And I'm obviously not anti civil rights. I'm definitely not pro Jim Crow, but there's something with the welfare arm of that has actually made things worse. And we are economically, our growth is more stagnant and worse. Now,
the program is ineffective because it also holds people in poverty.
That's the problem.
And that is like, and then it becomes a political thing as well. And this is the frustrating thing about policies is you go, well, if you vote for me, then you'll continue to get your welfare check. And
that's literally what they say.
It's a political thing.
Yeah.
And I think in the purest form, the church says, in the same way as God creates man in Genesis and gives us a chance at life, knowing that they have free will to choose him or to not choose him, the church says, we just love you and we care for our community. Here's your free food.
Yeah.
And, and we're going to continue to take care of you, even if you write us a tithe check or not.
Yeah.
You know, that's the purest form. And the government, that should be how it happens, right? We want to take care of you regardless or whatever. But then agendas come into play. And that's always my pushback too, where they go, oh, well, corporations are just evil. The people at the top of the corporations are just evil. It's like, dude, the people in your political leadership sphere are equally as selfish and as equally guilty of like putting their needs to the top, and they're just disguising it as taking care of people. Well, I want to say your thing, and then I want to wrap up on one thing.
No, you're good. I mean, I think I've said this before. I think it's fundamentalism on both sides, and you can be like, you can have a liberal humanist worldview and still want to superimpose that over the government. And then you're just, you don't have a religion, but you're a humanist nationalist where you believe that your worldview, and at the end of that, you also, like you were saying, as a bureaucrat, you become the recipient of whatever you're accusing the church of receiving. You're like, well, we're going to create all these bureaucratic offices and we're going to give these people $150,000 salaries and we're going to make them not pay taxes so that they can lead these initiatives. And it's the same exact thing. It's greed in a different expression. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
Well, we had this conversation a long time ago, Darius, about like fundamentalism and how, I mean, I don't mean to go back to kind of tread this.
Yeah,
again.
I don't know where Jesse wants to go to end this, so I don't want to jump into a new thing. But please go ahead.
No, I don't even know how to bring this back up. We don't have to bring it back up.
There.
No, it's okay. This could go in another 20, 30 minutes.
I'll say it really briefly.
Go.
The problem right now with the quote unquote left is they are fundamentalists. You cannot question trans ideology, race ideology, sexual orientation, pro-choice. You cannot question certain pillars of their theological tenets, what they believe to be self-evident. If you question them, they won't explain to you or argue with you or articulate to you why you should change your mind. They will shame you and tell you can't. I've literally watched people do it all the time. I can't believe you even asked that question.
Right.
And it's like, well, but your answer is you're not going to tell me why you believe this. You're going to say, I can't believe you even asked that. That's the way fundamentalist Christians, quote unquote Christians, have acted in the past. You would say, well, but can gay people go to heaven? You would say, I can't believe you would even ask that. I can't believe that your heart is so hard that you would even ask that. And instead of explaining this is how sexuality is viewed in scripture, you just give them a fundamentalist answer of you cannot question that. You're not allowed to question that.
There's a great community line where Britta is hanging out with a girl because she's a lesbian, and Britta is a very progressive person, and Annie, they're at college, right? So they're heightening all these sorts of like college experiences. And Annie, the other character, is like, so how does it work? Like, do you change in front of her? Like, is that a thing? And she goes, Annie, if you have to ask, isn't that a bit homophobic? And she's like, is it? It's like,
yes.
Like if you have to ask. And then it's funny because the girl is not a lesbian and she's only hanging out with Britta because she thinks Britta is a lesbian.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of prejudices, which
but then
that's my point.
Shaming the other people for trying to understand
and unfortunately that's what the phobic what do you mean you think there's problems with Islam? So you're Islamophobic. Well, no, I'm just concerned about pedophilia and mass murder.
Actually, that's a super interesting thing because even if you take it outside of all of that, like religion or politics or whatever, you go, people who have arachnophobia, right? An whatever fear of spiders, an unlogical, illogical, if you will. Thank you.
Irrational,
Irrational, that too.
I think it's that one.
In Washington State, there is a black widow that if you get bit by a black widow as an adult, it's going to swell up quite a lot, and it could be bad. Probably not. Like you're most likely going to be fine.
Right.
That's the one spider that can actually adhere a bite that might cause you some problems.
Okay.
So the point of fear as a human is to keep you alive.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have arachnophobia in Washington, it truly is irrational and illogical because there's no spider that actually genuinely threatens your life.
Right.
And I, as like a person who enjoys animals or even same thing with a snake, right? Like in Washington, there's a rattlesnake, and coming across a rattlesnake, unless you're
which happens a lot in Eastern Washington.
Well, I was going to say you have to be in certain areas, but
not a lot. Just more. If you're not from Washington, it would surprise you that you can hear a rattlesnake if you're out.
Absolutely. But people have these fears, and I'm like, you are deathly afraid of a garter snake. That if you catch it, it makes it's a defense mechanism. It might bite you, which might draw a little bit of blood, but its main defense mechanism is to make you smell bad. It lets off this odor that you go, oh, I don't think that this thing is good to eat. It's like that's its thing. And so when I hear people, they go, I have this fear. Ugh. Like I go, it's not going to kill you. don't be stupid.
Mhm.
Your phobia, and this is obviously ineffective when you're trying to talk to people who have phobias, but my feeling is like, your phobia is stupid.
It's stupid.
There's no explanation, and
Yeah.
that's very unhelpful for somebody.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I want that person to not have arachnophobia.
So the only
Don't
way
freak out
to
with spiders. If you have like a little
Yeah.
guy in the corner, honestly, I don't even care that much. Like he's got his little apartment over there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fine. We can coexist.
Yeah. So that's actually I wasn't sure what point you were going to make. And I was just like curious where you're going. Yes, you're right. That's so smart. Like, the only way to help somebody with a phobia is to talk through it with them, ask them questions, and be patient with them. Just yelling, you're arachnophobic. There's spiders in my house. Get the F away from my house.
Yeah, right.
That is destructive to communal relationships.
They're gonna just cower more.
It's a fundamentalist behavior. It's a fundamentalist behavior of, well, you're a woman who likes science. You're a witch, which I actually don't think is that wasn't a common Puritan idea. Like every Halloween, I have to be reminded that people don't understand who the Puritans were. As a Christian, they just like come out of Halloween and say all Christians are bad. And I'm like, oh, thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
But anyway, all these things of like fundamentalism, wherever it expresses himself, is an idolatry, and it's demonic. It's demonic and idolatrous when it shows up as a cancer in Christian communities, and it's just as destructive as when it shows up in non-Christian communities, because like you said, it is actual fascism. It's the binding together of the like-minded people to come against the different. That's what fascism is.
Especially the fringes, right? Like, you take the masses and you snuff out the fringes. I think that most people have not gotten this far in the podcast, so it doesn't matter a whole lot. I will say that a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, I think all three of us believe that it's a very nuanced conversation, especially when you're talking about like trans ideology and things of that nature. I think we want to make it black and white, and it's like wrong or right. And I think that when we're like, we're like, some of that ideology like we don't think is great. You go, oh, so you hate trans people. You go, no,
you're transphobic.
That's not what I said. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so it's not that. I think that there's a nuanced conversation to it. I think if you are an adult and are a trans person, like, I'm still going to serve you coffee. I still would love for you to like patron my, and I would
hug you.
I would love to
be your friend.
I would love to profit off of you.
Oh yeah. I profit off of everybody.
Yeah.
And I keep it from my employees. No, like I would invite you in to have a meal. Absolutely. And I would like,
I'll use your pronoun.
I would have that. Yeah, absolutely. I would love you. I would love you as a person. But I think, so I think it's a nuanced thing. Ben brought up a really funny point that liberals name their causes in a way that, like, if you're against it, it makes you sound like you like want kings or you're anti-black people. It's very funny. But it's a very nuanced thing. I don't know. We just love Jesus. We're just trying to find our way.
Definitely think right now the culture war, people don't realize that the culture war is for middle class and upper middle class and up Americans. If you really think that the culture war is important to people who are hurting and broken and in need around you, you've really, really put blinders on in life.
Yeah.
I don't care about the culture war. And I know it's popular right now to be a pastor who preaches the culture war. I do not care about the culture war, because the people that Jesus has asked us to reach first are the poor, the needy, the broken, the hurting. In the culture war, if you think that the culture war is for them, it's not. The culture war is a war of privilege. And
What does
Christians,
James say? The perfect religion is taking care of the orphans and the widows.
Yeah, and he doesn't use the word religion. I mean, we sometimes translate it that way.
I was going to say that probably was my
word.
super cool NLT.
He uses the word worship. He says true worship is this. And like, if you really want to impact those people, stop screaming about legislation and go out to their neighborhoods.
Yeah,
do an event for their kids. Bring them groceries. Help them with their SNAP benefits, even if you disagree with them. They live off of them. So now that they don't have them, they're not going to live right now. So like, do things that actually impact them and stop virtue signaling. I'm so sick and tired of like on the left and the right, Christians and non-Christians, virtue signaling from their couch when there's people in their community that are hurting and have no one. Like all we have to do is actually engage, and that's what Christians do.
Don't try to figure out the perfect setup for your Instagram shot.
Dude.
Try to figure out how to take care of people
and preach the gospel. I'm not saying
community.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to New Way Stories. Honestly, this is a great. If you made it this far, and if you're in the comment section, you probably haven't. But we would love to have genuine dialogue about these sorts of things. You can write in newwaystoriespod@gmail.com. You can leave a hate-filled comment in the comment section if you want, or you can leave a
nice one, maybe
a nice one. Leave a question that you're like, or a point that we can address and have a conversation about. We do think that we're more right than you are, but no.
It's a cross we bear.
I honestly, I get passionate about things and I start talking, and then someone will bring up a point. My wife does this all the time. She goes, "Well, what about this?" And I go, "Oh yeah, I didn't think about that." Like I am that sort of person that I want to hear about things
because you're the peacemaker.
Exactly. And Ben, you even said like, "Well, what legislation are you like talking about?" I'm like, I can only really think of like one or two. But I need people to maybe point out some, and then I can decide how I go on that. So drop a comment, like, subscribe. That helps us. It actually doesn't matter. We're gonna keep doing it regardless. But yeah, we'll catch you next week on New Way Stories. Boom boom.
It's not what it sounds like at all.